What's up? Welcome into the show. This is Philadelphia Eagles now and coming your way. Hope everybody out there is having a fantastic week. Going to take a look at some blockbuster trade targets for the Birds, players who the Eagles could trade for to further make a splash because Howie Roseman, always aggressive, always looking to fortify his football team. And we begin with trade target number one. That is Trey Hendrickson, the edge rusher for the Cincinnati Bengals. He requested a trade away from Cincinnati, is looking for a contract extension. This has been a highly productive player for the last couple of years who got off to a slow start with New Orleans. Then his final year, he tallies 13.5 sacks as a little bit of a late bloomer. He parlays that into getting paid by the Bengals, turns into a defensive stalwart and defensive stud. And now, as he is about to flip the page to 30 years old, he's eyeing a new contract in Cincinnati, a historically cheap organization, hasn't given it to him, at least as of yet. And over the last 4 years, Hendrickson has put up 13.5 sacks, 14 sacks, 8 sacks, 17.5 sacks. This is a really skilled player who is a high-quality player at 6'4", 270 pounds. Always going to demand the attention of opposing offensive linemen and is really strong with his pass rush craft. And because of that, just a bring your lunch bail to work, blue-collar, gritty type of player that Eagles fans would certainly love. Here's why I don't think it's going to happen. And here's the issue with trading for Trey Hendrickson. 29 years old. So you just traded away a soon-to-be 30-year-old edge rusher in Haason Reddick because you didn't want to pay him. Why would you then turn around and pay a 29-year-old, soon-to-be 30-year-old Trey Hendrickson? At number 2, let's get the juicy conversations going here, and I imagine the comment section is going to take off. Niners wide receiver Deebo Samuel. It's been a lot of trade conversations and trade rumors around Deebo and the 49ers wide receiver room in its entirety this offseason. And if San Francisco prioritizes signing Brandon Aiyuk, who's under contract for one more year on that 5th-year option, they just drafted Ricky Pearsall, a wide receiver out of Florida with the 31st overall pick. Money starting to get a little bit tight. They pay Aiyuk. They want to pay Brock Purdy in the future. Does that make Deebo Samuel expendable? The Niners reportedly took calls on a Deebo trade during and in the lead-up to the NFL draft, and I know that he's had a beef with Eagles fans and Eagles players. He is best friends with A.J. Brown, by the way, but you saw what he did in Week 13 last year when he absolutely popped off in a special way for all those touchdowns, and he was taking the ball to the crib. He was breaking tackles left and right. He single-handedly took over that game. That's what he's capable of. 2021 All-Pro, one of the most dynamic players in the entire National Football League. Him alongside A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith with that as your slot wide receiver, oh boy, that is scary. But when Devontae Smith's making $25 million, and then A.J. Brown's contract extension is going to give him $32 million, and Deebo Samuel is making just under $24 million, that's a lot of money devoted and invested into the wide receiver room. Next up, Patrick Surtain, who we continue to talk about here. But I think that taking Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean makes this somewhat highly unlikely. And you're just kind of at a point now at the cornerback room if you're Philadelphia where you got the best corner in the draft class in Quinion Mitchell at 22. Fell right into your lap. And you didn't really have to do much to get the best corner in the draft. In fact, you stood pat. You stood there at number 22. You held your ground. You didn't have to move up. And you got an extremely skilled player who has great ball skills, who didn't get penalized last year, who had 24 pass breakups in 2023, who runs a 4.3 40-yard dash. And the point with that, love the player, love the game, love the attitude, love the confidence, is that you drafted a corner in the first round with so much upside who has the talent of a Patrick Surtain. Yet the issue in trading for Patrick Surtain is that he is going to be due a new contract. And he's going to be paid $20+ million either by Denver or an acquiring team, or if he hits free agency, the team that he goes to. he is held in that regard and held highly in regard by many other teams across the NFL. So too is the cornerback position. So it just isn't all that realistic for Philadelphia now to draft Quinion Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, and then to trade for a Patrick Surtain. I know that the rookies are improving, but they're way cheaper. And I'm a fan of the upside that both Mitchell and DeJean have. You can use Cooper DeJean all around the field. That's a type of Swiss Army knife type of player. And then Quinion Mitchell is that outside island corner who can play press man, play off ball, play zone, play man. He did an excellent job locking up everybody in his sights during the Senior Bowl week in Mobile, Alabama. But look, as long as Patrick Surtain doesn't sign that contract extension with the Denver Broncos, these trade rumors are going to continue to circulate because Denver's in a spot where they're clearly rebuilding. They haven't paid him yet. They have a lot of gaping holes on that roster. They just drafted Bo Nix at number 12. So that goes to show you that they're in a little bit of a rebuilding phase here where they don't expect to win right away. Is Bo Nix going to be the player? Very experienced college player at Auburn and at Oregon. But he is also a little bit older. So if you go with him, you're not expecting to win a lot of games during his rookie campaign. And then the other quarterbacks on that roster outside of Bo Nix, Jarrett Stidham, you traded for Zach Wilson. So Denver is a team that, what would Howie Roseman do? If Philadelphia had to tear it down and rebuild, and they had all these other gaping holes on the team, is he going to pay $20 million to a corner? Probably not. You want to be able to shore up offensive line to protect the young quarterback who you just invested in. You want to try to get a good defensive line in place, maybe an edge rusher, to get after the opposing quarterback. And then you want to be able to really build up your roster to give your young quarterback some complementary pieces at the wide receiver position. And then maybe after that, you look at the cornerback position. So that's interesting. But I don't think it happens with Surtain just because of the money at play and where the Eagles went in the route of drafting young corners. I will leave you with this. What is the weakness on this Eagles roster right now? I mean, you go position by position. You're good at quarterback, good at running back, fine at tight end, great at wide receiver, really good along the offensive line. And then defensively, solid defensive line. They could miss Haason Reddick. Better at linebacker, better at corner, better at safety. But just because you're better at safety doesn't mean that you can't sign Justin Simmons. And of all these moves, the blockbuster trades, the big splashy move, acquiring one of these superstar-like players, Justin Simmons is the one that makes the most sense. From a cost-controlled option, a scheme-fit standpoint, familiarity with Vic Fangio, and he's a really good player. Make sure you drop us a like, leave a comment, hit that sub button. As always, appreciate everybody for tuning in to us here on Philadelphia Eagles Now. By the time you're watching this, I am at my sister's bachelorette party in Deep Creek, Maryland. That's why we're hitting you with all these videos. And yes, I am going to the bachelorette party. It's going to get weird.